So what I did is I have the questions here, and then when we're taking a look at a specific journal, specific date, I have it up here because as we take a look at the answers, one of the things I'm going to be wanting to know is, okay, what's the justification? What's the reasoning that we have for those specific responses? So, first one, main purpose question. So this is taking a look at his diary writing in general, not just one specific response. Kafka's, and the key word here that we have is purpose. What's going to be the overall purpose for him writing within his diary? If someone's doing diary journal response, there we go. What's the main thing that they're hoping to accomplish? Why write a diary?
I would either write it for someone else to eventually find and read, or to make mental notes.
So you want us to read your diary? Well, it's okay. We can start off with why, like in general, do you write in a diary? And so mental notes for something for someone to read a little bit later. Mark, make sure you can follow it. What's it mean to recount something? Thank you for not saying 1, 2, 3.
I didn't even think of that. That would be recounting, not recounting.
It is. So if you recount something, to recount means that you are telling a story or providing a narrative. And if you're doing a journal, you're recounting certainly specific events from somebody's life. So yeah, the specific reason that you would be having, what's the main purpose for writing your diary entries, it would definitely be C. The one that some folks could be certainly taking a look at, because what tends to be a main topic or a main issue that he looks at within his diary? His father, and you can tell the relationship between the two is not very good. Is his whole reason, his whole purpose for writing his diary entries only about his dislike for his father? No. But his dislike for his father could certainly count as possible events that he would be looking at from his life, and that's where C becomes the better answer than B. This one we were doing pretty good on. I think we were around like 60% was the correct rate that we were getting on this one. Number 2 was probably the trickiest question of any that was showing up on the list that we have. In the August 26th entry, mother is fearful because. I'm pretty sure we all submitted the exact same answer. I think we were 100%, and you were going B.
Yes.
So why are you going to be mad when I go it's not B?
What?
Did you just put B as you went in?
Yeah.
Yeah? You could have been like that one person that stood up and said, no, it's not.
Wait, what? I knew it was A. What do you mean? We there. That's stupid. It's definitely B. What do you mean that's stupid? She's concerned. Definitely B.
Now, I'm not going to yell at you with an explanation of the answer as to how dare you have selected B.
Why?
From the passage, where are we getting that the answer would be B? Like, what part are you seeing that's making you go, this is why I think it's B?
She keeps talking about how his health is bad.
Okay. So,
He's fearful, but consolation.
because if he's always been so energetic, then what's going to happen? The assumption would be he'll get better. His health will be restored. And so I think because we have the use of fearful going on here, within that sentence, the idea that he's always been so energetic, that means he's going to get better, that we would make us think that, okay, the answer is going to be B. Knowing that the answer is C, do you see anything within that passage that would make you look, okay, maybe she is more fearful about the finances, Maddie, head up please, as opposed to strictly the health? Tyler and Josh will come over to you too.
It's later down in that sentence, it says, I tell her the trouble with the business not lasting another 3 months.
Okay. So you're looking at right here, and then you said you went down to there, and then everything will be fine. Josh, were you going to go? Okay. Now, I could go, see, this means he's upset about business, therefore she's upset about business, that's what she's most fearful about. But certainly someone could still go, but yeah, up here it says she's fearful and he's going to become energetic, so that way it still must be health. Can you see any way in which that highlighted passage makes it become C more so than B? Or is it still a 50-50 split at best?
I think it's 50-50.
You should give us credit for that.
Yeah.
At least half
What do you think? Oh, it's a tricky question. There's no doubt about it.
I think it talks about how he's energetic because he always cared for business.
Okay. Listen up.
And then he tells you that the trouble won't last.
In regard to the business, will start to get better. Okay.
I see another one even further down.
Okay.
Tilts the scale to number C,
What do you see?
where it says of the sad necessity that he must provide for his family.
Okay, so getting a little bit more coming from for the financial aspect. Couple things. Take a look at the question. In the August 26th entry, mother is fearful because, with this phrasing right here, it does not say in the line where mother says she is fearful, it can be assumed that she is upset about, but it is what is the overall aspect of the entry of that paragraph, of that specific part, that is making her most concerned. So is there more emphasis placed on his health, or is there more emphasis placed on the business? I'd say there's a little bit more emphasis being placed on the business than the overall health. Nate.
I was gonna say the last sentence makes it more business too, because he says they reassure them about his condition.
Father reassures us slightly.
The question is what you do. Except that. Well, then.
When you're going right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The question is asking exactly that.
This might sound weird, so if it makes it more confusing, I apologize. We'll try to reword it. What's the opposite of being afraid?
Happy. No, not afraid.
Not afraid.
Right.
I don't know if it was Tommy or you that said not scared. When will everything be fine? When the business is working. So yes, you're right with fearful, that gets used, and one of the reasons that she is afraid is because his health is declining. Because his health is declining, what is that going to cause more problems for? The business. Everything will then be fine after another 3 months because the trouble with the business cannot last. So the idea that this is the problem, this ends up being the solution. What's going to lead to the solution? The business being better than the overall health. And that's where C becomes the better response. It is a tricky one. I don't think you have to worry about, like on a Keystone, all questions being quite as nitpicky as this one. It is a tricky one, and that's part of the reason why I was going with this kind of scaled scoring for you. But hey, you could have, a couple that end up tripping you up and still getting a 14 out of 14, still getting a 12 out of 14, where you're not being held to, the standard that you have to get every single one of them right. On the Keystone, and we'll certainly talk about this throughout the year, your job is not to get 100%. So if you're a person who you keep, and some of us do this, where you keep mental notes, I got the first one right, I got the second one wrong, crap, I'm at 50%. Ooh, I got the second one right, or the third one, now I have 2 out of 3, that's a 67%, that's still a D, I need to get the next 2 right. You can't think about it that way with on the Keystone because the percentages are all completely different. It's not worried about getting an A, about what we're getting a B or a C, you're talking about, a proficient and advanced kind of thing. And we'll talk about those percentages later on. That's why anytime we do something Keystone, I tend to scale the scores in some kind of fashion so that it's not just a straight, the straight score, raw score that you'd be using. October 31st, what persuasive technique does Franz use to reinforce his dislike for his father? The results for me on this one looks like they're kind of stuck. Let's go with definitions. What's it mean if you repeat?
You do it again.
It's we try not to say repeated, but basically it's going to keep showing up. It's going to happen again. The rest of these, all vocab terms that we've gone over, bandwagon. If something is bandwagon, you are believing or you're doing something because of what reason? Other people. It's the popular belief. What happens on circular argument?
It's a square. No, it's a circle.
Yeah, but what's that mean?
You start with you start the argument with the ending.
Starting the argument. Nate stole my bike because I think Nate is the kind of kid who would steal my bike. Therefore, I know he stole my bike because Nate steals
I
bikes.
see Nate beat up the kid that beat up the kid that stole the bike.
Alright, try that one.
That could be a circular argument too. So argument essentially repeats itself throughout. Red herring, again, this was I think our last vocab list that you had. That's when you are purposely putting in some kind of distraction within an argument. That's when we were talking about why don't you eat your vegetables, because they're starving people throughout the world. If you were to make reference to that, you are distracting the person from the issue at hand of eating the vegetables. Of those, what do we have going on in this October 31st passage? The follow-up question is going to be, where? So we got to vote for red herring. What else?
Dilly dilly.
Where?
Oh, somewhere. Oh yeah, see.
Do.
Try again.
Where's the red herring? In case my father should ever call me a bad son, I'm writing down so as not to forget that he, in front of several relatives and without particular reason, perhaps simply to make me feel small, or perhaps because he means to save me, called Max a, I can't say the word, basically means a hothead, a crazy fool. And that yesterday, when Lovie was in my room, he spoke with ironic bodily convulsions and contortions of the mouth of all the strangers that are being allowed into the flat, asking what one could possibly find of interest in strangers, or why one should ever enter into such a useless relationship, etc. But I should not have written this down, as I have positively written myself into a state of hatred for my father, a hatred for which he has given me no cause today, a hatred which, at least as far as his statements about Lovie are concerned, is disproportionately great, and a hatred which is increased by the fact I cannot actually remember anything vicious in the way that he has acted. We have a hatred, a hatred, a hatred. What do we have?
Circular argument.
It's not circular argument.
Is it,
Oh, it's a red herring.
what?
It's repetition.
Oh,
It's a man.
What is he reinforcing repeatedly? He's mentioning over and over, I have this hatred for my father. That is how he's trying to get the argument across, by repeating it. The difference between repetition and circular argument, because both of them are going to have elements of repetition, but a circular argument is going to be, I hate my father because my father's mean. Because my father's mean, I therefore hate them. But because he keeps repeating that phrase, that's what makes it repetition.
So I didn't answer circular argument, but couldn't it also be circular argument from the beginning? How he's talking about his dad calling him a bad son.
There's a difference between circular argument and like reinforcing a point over and over again.
Okay.
I don't know, like what's a hobby that you like?
I don't know.
I like bandanas.
Okay.
You know, I wear bandanas every day. Tuesday I'm wearing purple. Friday I'll wear, burgundy or whatever. If you keep going back and talking about bandanas, that doesn't make it a circular argument. That means you're reinforcing something. Anyone still believe in Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Good for you.
My dad kind of wrote that way when he got me called Louis a day. I was like, wait,
Santa's not.
yeah, no, it's not.
Jack, you believe in Santa Claus because everyone believes in Santa Claus.
I believe in Santa Claus because I know my
Tommy, what is that?
What?
Jack believes in Santa Claus because everyone believes in Santa Claus. That would be an example of a bandwagon. Now, everyone, and Brendan, this would go back to circular reasoning. Everyone believes in Santa Claus because the belief in Santa Claus is universal. I'm basically saying everyone believes in Santa Claus because everyone believes in Santa Claus. When your evidence is the same thing as your argument, that is circular reasoning. I don't know what's for lunch today.
Is it Wednesday?
Tuesday. Chicken nuggets. Okay? The chicken nuggets are terrible because the food here is bad. It is a circular argument. You don't have evidence. You're just kind of repeating the same thing over and over and over again. Number 4. Max and Lovie are most likely Franz's.
Brothers.
I said
Brothers.
Yeah, I said Floyd.
No way.
I did this with you.
He spoke with ironic bodily convulsions and contortions of the mouth of all the strangers that are being allowed into the flat, and he does this when Lovie is in his room. So this would make you think if he's talking about all these quote-unquote strangers that we're dealing with a friend. It's someone who he's not crazy about. He's calling Max a crazy fool, a hothead. He's complaining about all the folks who are coming into the flat. So it's not going to be a brother. You get the sense that there's some kind of relationship, friendship that would be taking place. That's why we'd be going with B. Right?
What was he called?
What down the? I don't know how you say it, but basically means like crazy hothead.
I said, where did
No.
That's 2 words.
It's still irony.
There's an and in there.
So
There's his in it too, I mean.
what am I?
You're kidding.
What the?
No.
Definitely irony. It's irony.
Why?
Because it's not.
Because it's saying about
like
good
Josh
health.
said, it doesn't have the
But it's not.
Yeah, remember we talked about this?
We talked
Yeah,
about it.
you
You said it's right.
It doesn't have to
I think he's a pretty bad
We talked about this.
I didn't say he was right.
But you said it wasn't alliteration. You said simile.
No, I said what's
No.
your reason for it not being alliteration? At which point Josh said it's not da 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 da, and I said okay, we'll keep track of that.
Good job, Josh.
What do you have? His great presence and previous vigor. Now this is a contained question. This is different from like the one where we're taking a look at where in the passage as a whole in this entry. For this one, if it gives you a quote like this, you are solely looking at what is present right here. So within these, 6 words total, what is going on? His great presence, his previous vigor. You could say that within relation to like the earlier passage when he's in poor health, that it could be kind of ironic, but we're solely looking at, in this part, what's taking place. Presence, previous, you have the repetition of the same sound. That would be an example of alliteration.
You're not gonna like our keys.
You're definitely not.
Yeah, I will.
It's
By the
more
time
serious
we get there.
Now that we know.
Yeah, I will.
Now that we know.
Well, and
Tommy.
couple things to know about Keystone scores. Number 1, they'll be fun. Forever. You're right now. You have yet to do any actual Keystone questions. You are doing what I call the sample Keystone questions. You are doing Keystone similar questions to things that we have read, Oedipus Rex, or things that we're doing here with Kafka's Diary, and we'll do some things with Metamorphosis. At this point in the year, I purposely give you ones that I think will be more difficult than what you'll do on the Keystone. So I don't want you taking a look at like number 2, number 5, and going, well, all hope is lost. I'm not going to do well on the Keystone. As we do some more things, and I would say this is probably going to be more November, December that it starts to happen. We're going to take a look at actual Keystone things that have been released, at which point you're going to go, this is a lot easier than the stuff we were doing. I'm mad at you, Mr. Payne, for making me do that in October because you caused my grade to go down. But you know what? This doesn't seem so bad. The multiple choice on Keystone is not going to be problematic. If there's a problem that is going to show up for Keystones, it's going to be making sure that you stay focused long enough to do your constructive response and all that stuff. No, it's not an essay. It's like a short answer. It's like 7 to 10 questions or sentences. You're not doing a formal essay like we would with like an Oedipus Rex. You'll be writing paragraphs. But after doing again the formal essays, I don't think those paragraphs will seem so bad. Oh, it's state to prove that you are confident within English. We could get into a debate as to how worthwhile are they. It doesn't matter because it's something that we have to do. It's like juniors taking the AP test. I don't think they should take a multiple choice test to prove they can write, but it's something that they have to do. It's just a
I think it's multiple choice.
For this, it says his great presence. That could still be irony because it's obviously not so great.
Why?
Right? Because he's a bad man.
Because he complains about his hatred for himself.
He talks about how much he hates all the entries, and then he's like,
I love catchphrases. So here's the catchphrase. You're doing paralysis by analysis. In the sense that you're reading too, and this is the tough part, because sometimes questions are direct, sometimes they require you to read between the lines. Because you are solely looking at what's going on between these quotation marks, his great presence and previous vigor, you're not comparing it to other stuff that happens within the passage. If it were to go in the October 16th entry, his great presence and previous vigor is, blank in comparison to then another passage, then you might be opening up the door for something being like irony. But you don't have anything to really, within that question, within the context of that question, to compare the presence to. Some questions are going to be analysis where it'll say refer this back to the other parts. Some, I just call this self-contained. You're only looking at those 6 words. Within those 6 words, what do you see? And that's where the alliteration comes from. The more important thing, rather than you putting, A or D or B or C, is the fact that we still talk about it, and you start to begin to see the rationale of how they set up the questions. And then that's going to make you better off
That's
later.
why when I say alliteration.
Yeah. Brendan?
Oh, this is completely off of this. What's our quiz on tomorrow?
Part 1.
It's a reading.
November 3rd entry. Who states, he who sleeps with dogs wake up with fleas?
This one has to be.
D, right?
See, Obi-Wan definitely knows.
You're going D.
Definitely
I'm
knows.
going D.
I'm going D.
It's
A.
It's
What the?
Yeah, about to die.
It says,
My father hates you.
Wow.
What this means is my father's view of Lovi. He who sleeps with dogs wakes up with fleas. So father is stating his viewpoint of Lovi in relation to Franz Kafka. He who sleeps with dogs wakes up with fleas. If you hang around this person too much, life for you isn't going to be all that good. You're basically hanging out with a dog.
I hope you guys
I mean, we're 1 for 6.
this was definitely Josh's.
All right, number 7.
We're 1 for 6.
Number 7. Which word is a synonym for clamor?
bracket.
Oh, racket. There we go.
I have-
There we go.
Yeah, we got.
Oh, man.
I have no problem, and I don't mean this to go, Gavin, you would have otherwise got it wrong, and that's not what I'm saying. I have no problem if you were looking up a definition, for it. I said, that's okay. Understand though, when you take a Keystone, you're not going to have a dictionary. You're not going to have access to dictionary.com and stuff like that. So you certainly want to look at, all right, what are words that are going on around clamor, and that would still let you know that, okay, there's some kind of loud noise that's going on. Front door is unlatched, creaking like a catarrhal throat is an example of.
Simile.
I so badly want to highlight alliteration just to tick Jack off, but it's simile.
There you go.
That's
Hey, hurry for it. No, yeah.
Catarrhal most likely means congested. So that you would have like it'd be that noise that's going to be in your throat. I sit in my room surrounded by the clamor of the entire flat. I hear the doors slamming, the racket spares me, the footsteps between them. So this is how you know there's certainly going to be that loud noise that's taking on that we're looking at within clamor. 10, how does the style of the December 26th entry influence the tone? Tone and mood tend to get confused, and we're going to talk about those in the upcoming months. Tone is what is the writer's attitude, what is the writer trying to get across. Mood is how do you interpret what the writer's doing. So tone is the author's attitude, mood is what's the reader's emotion from it. So what's the writer trying to get across with this one? A lot of folks were asking about satirical. What do we mean with satirical? Satirical is going to be some kind of social criticism. You're criticizing usually for humor, exaggeration. Political cartoons are satirical. Saturday Night Live skits are satirical. You read Animal Farm last year. That would be an example of satirical. Nate, Jim, a hand up or a stretch? Okay. So, style. Feel free to keep your hand in your cold shirt. It's simple if you want.
This is B, right?
Process of elimination. What two could you eliminate?
A.
I would take out A.
And your Allen process of elimination.
I take out D.
I take out D.
I pick out C.
C and D, I take out.
I take out D.
Why are you taking out C?
Yeah, C is the correct
I
one.
don't know,
Yeah,
because I didn't get that right.
I said D.
We didn't say.
Take out D.
Why D?
Because it's not really insulting anywhere. He's not like being disrespectful.
Okay.
He's like
So-
saying
yeah.
like, I understand.
I think you could argue that maybe there is a disrespectful tone, but I don't think you would find insulting language. So D is going to get crossed out. So you come between, is the answer going to be B or C?
B.
B.
Answer's B.
Yeah,
For satirical, you are looking for exaggeration, irony, humor. Alliteration's not there. Humor is going to be the main part that's not there. He is certainly resentful towards his father, and while his language is not insulting, there certainly could be terms that you would use that he is being kind of bitter towards him. So that's where B comes off as the better. Number 11. This is a consistent kind of keystone question. Which characteristic clearly defines the passage as nonfiction? Lack of a plot. So certainly you can still have dialogue, you can still have adjectives, you can still have a theme, but you're not going to have a plot characters in a nonfiction passage the way that you would in a fictional one. Throughout the passage, father could be best described as, what's belligerent mean?
I forget it.
It's like hostile and aggressive.
I know what reprimand is.
You're always kind of trying to pick a fight. If you're belligerent, you're trying to be in a fight.
No, that sounds like Evan.
It's not B.
No, that's shaded. That's shaded now.
Just pick whatever we don't think is right.
I don't think anyone will.
Overbearing in the sense. Let's stop. Tommy. Jack. Overbearing in the sense that he cannot escape pressures from his father. He's overbearing when it comes to friends. He's overbearing when it comes to how, whether or not Franz is having a good life. So no matter what he does, there is that shadow that he can't escape from his father. That's where he ends up being overbearing. Which of the following is an opinion? We did pretty good with answering this one. It is D. The one thing that might have thrown somebody off would be, you see, but these true facts, but the statement is still opinion-based because you're explaining what those facts do. And then if it's a diary, you're almost, I don't want to say completely, but you're almost guaranteed that it's going to be in first person. First person is going to be using I, me, my. Second person is you, your. Third person limited, you don't know the emotions. Third person omniscient, you do. Now third person is going to have he, his, him, stuff like that. You can still have that in a diary. You know, I talked to my father, he said, yes, that's a third person pronoun, but the point of view is still quiz tomorrow, part 1. Make sure you read through part 1. You're going to need to know what's happened on. Yes. So you're going from page, starting with page 26. Make sure you read.
Can you pass me Far's quiz because my birthday?
No.
True.
Happy birthday.
Can you pass me for his birthday? It's his birthday wish, I swear. Wait, what? I wish for something. Pass tomorrow's quiz.